Humanity, I love you all with all my heart, with all my might. My video feed got cut off, but it doesn't really matter. So I was talking about love you all with all my heart, with all my might. So I was talking about the senses and perception and how it is, and reality, how we experience reality, how we perceive existence. Perception is through our senses. So and our brain processes all this information. And if you really think about it at a fundamental level, like just our senses, right? The five, as we know them, the traditional five: a sight, a hearing, touch, smell, and taste, right? Five. And if you think about it, where's our brain located? Our heads. And where our eyes for sight, right in front of our brains and our head. And then our sense of smell, nostrils right here, right in front of our brain. Ears, sound, right in the sides of our brain. You see, mouth, taste, right in here with our brain. You see the brain which processes all this information, and the senses, which is how we perceive reality through our senses. It's all right next to the brain, because the brain has that necessity to have an immediate signal that is processed through the senses and converted into electricity called, current. And that signal, electrical signal, this neurotransmission, right? This synapse, it happens as a result of what? The sense translating that feedback loop of existence into the brain, so the brain makes sense of it. So you see, the brain is right here that processes all that information, but then the senses are surrounding it. Our eyes, our nostrils, eyes for sight, nostrils for smell, mouth, taste, right there next to the brain, ears for hearing, hearing right next to our brain. And then touch, our skin, nerves, right in our whole face, we feel everywhere. Touch yourself all over the brain, you see? And all over the body too. But the whole thing is that the five senses are surrounding the brain. Literally, biologically speaking, at a physical level, they're all right there. Why? Because the brain requires the feedback loop, that input, and the input is the signal. Because the brain is electric. Sending, receiving is a bidirectional mechanism. The senses are bidirectional. So you see, send and receive information to the brain so we can process it. And the senses is that. The senses are that, is perception of reality. What we see around the world, around us. But for the most part, the most important sense, by far, is the eyes. Biologically speaking, our brains have designed all this wiring, all this, circuitry, all this neuroplasticity, all these veins, all these nerves attached to our eyes. Because the eyes, they go inside, like you see, they all, for the nostrils are outside. There's a protuberance through the nose, the mouth, here. But the eyes, if you think about, and the ears are here, they go into the brain, and obviously our skin, the epidermis, where we feel the touch sense, it's the outside. It's all like superficial. But if you really if you look at the eyes, just by looking at it, the eyes, they go inside. It's only the lens of it that it's kind of like, it's still like protected by skin and all these things. But in reality, like if you think about it, most of the eyes right in front of the brain. So it's like the closest to the brain. It's the closest to the brain. The other ones are close, but you see the mouth is like, it has a duct, and the nostrils is outside, it goes in. The ears is right here, and it kind of connects, and the touch is on the outside, the surface. They also surface level, but the eyes are inside, right there with the brain. It's like almost, they work together very closely. And our brains, because why is this? Because of light, you see, because our brain, because sight is such an important thing, because human intelligence and self-awareness and biology and all these essentially formed to be, we are bipedal in the sense that we walk on set of legs, 2 legs to be precise, and we standing, so we use our hands. We have hand-eye coordination, feet-eye coordination, and we're very intelligent. But in reality, all these comes as a feedback loop of the most important sense, which is sight. Because of its relevance. Why? Because it gives us it's like the mechanism for us to see, so we can actually make real sense of existence, of reality, of this perceived notion of things that are, the human experience, the human condition, human nature. The eyes, we see through the eyes. If we can't see, we kind of blind in a way. You see, we require sight. It's a very fundamental mechanism. Information, light comes through the eyes. It comes through the eyes, you see, and then, the brain really starts to make a lot of sense of most things. And then obviously all the other senses are important, but they're there to support sight in a big way. Because if you just look at the biology of it at a neurological level, most of it is designed for the sight, for the eyes. So why? Well, you gotta understand. Then again, my book is about why. Why, how? You need to understand why. Because nature is telling you in the design of it, the most predominant sight by far is, the most predominant sense by far is sight. The brain is telling you in its own nature and its own wiring that is the mechanism. Sight is the mechanism to really make sense of reality in a way that makes sense, so we can, operate in the environment. You see, otherwise we will be blind and it will be hard. We will be hitting rocks and things, and we will be hearing and we will be sensing and touching and tasting things and smelling, but we will be blind. And we need to have sight so we can see, we can, actually operate properly in this biology, this context in which we find ourselves on Earth, this planet. So because it's solid, we need to be able, otherwise if we're blind, it doesn't make sense, you see. It's almost like a dumb creature because you're blind. But when you have sight, then you can operate at a very high level and use our intelligence. You see, it's evolution, biology, the DNA evolved for us to have sight for a reason. And I'm going to explain why. The reason why we have sight is because of the sun. Because we are one with creation. This is an important concept. We need to understand that we're infinite in nature. This is who we are. We are infinite in nature. So our infinite nature is clear. So what creates life in the first place? The human heartbeat. Without the human heartbeat, the human life form, the species wouldn't exist. The heartbeat is the biological creator. The human heartbeat generates the electromagnetic field that powers the human body. So we can have brains and functions and our senses make sense and reality makes sense. We're conscious and self-aware. It starts with the brain in terms of senses and all that. But what boots the brain? The human heartbeat, the pulse of life, the pulse of creation, the electromagnetic field generated as a result of the feedback loop of the pulse, the resonance of the human heartbeat. So the human heartbeat generates this resonance, this electromagnetic field that powers the brain, that powers the organs, so we can be alive. We can be conscious and self-aware and sentient. So it starts there. And obviously we love with the hearts, which is the same place. So we live to love and we love to live. This is the nature. We're here for a purpose. And that purpose is to create through free will. And we create with purposeful daily action here and now. So why am I starting with all this? Because this is important to understand that sight, the most important sense that truly puts things together, so we're not blind out there in a world full of color. Why? Because of the sun. The sun itself has its own electromagnetic field, which is also a light spherical being, just like us. And the soul is spherical. The sun is spherical object, just like our eyes. Our eyes are spherical. Our brain is kind of spherical. Our heart is kind of spherical. But the electromagnetic field of the heart is fully spherical. And the electromagnetic field of the brain is fully spherical. The eyes are spherical, just like this object, the sun. And in our eyes, we have the iris. And the iris is the cell, right? It's the cell. We have the cell. An eye cell in the iris called the cone cell, which allows us to see light and colors. And light colors come from the sun, you see, and the sun itself created the conditions here on Earth through its electromagnetic field. So the Earth itself has its own electromagnetic field, so life can be created here on Earth. So you see, it all starts with light. It starts with energy creation itself, life. Biological life is formed as a result of the feedback loop of creation itself, which is energetic because of its own electromagnetic nature, spherical nature, which is the electromagnetic represented physically that we can measure with an electromagnetic field itself at a sun scale that powers everything. So the Earth itself has its own electromagnetic field that creates the conditions for biological life to exist through the DNA with atmospheres and biospheres and biomes and ecosystems and support systems, etc. and so on. So that's how it works, and this is just the way it is. So that's why we have eyes, because of light created everything in the first place. So we can see creation. So we can perceive reality through our eyes. And obviously it starts there. And it's the connection, you see, is beautiful. The life itself is connected through light. Because light is energy. Energy is vibration, frequency, and creation itself at different scales. Terrestrial, astronomical, biological, it's all connected. It's all part of the same thing. So why sight? Because sight is what allows us to see what? Light, energy, creation itself. So we can make sense of creation itself, this planet and this beautiful thing. Because we're sentient, you see, we're conscious, we're self-aware. And then because of the heartbeat and we're alive, so we are alive, we're creators. With the creator, biologically speaking, the heart gave us life so we can love, because we love our creation. So we're a benevolent species. You see, biologically speaking, we reproduce by making love, having children. We love our creation, the instinct of love. We love our creation, our children, and then we're raising them, and then the life cycle continues. But that's not all we do, because we're intelligent. We have senses, we perceive reality, hands, feet, we create, builders. We've been doing it for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. So if you think about it fundamentally, what is the meaning of that? Well, the very meaning of that is that we're here to create. Our purpose is to have purposeful lives. We live to love. The instinct of the heartbeat tells us that we are alive, so we love because we love with the heart, which is the same place that gives us a heartbeat. But then why do we love? Because we love to live. The fact that we're alive is so we live. We love. So we are alive to live, to love. We live to love and we love to live. We want to have a purposeful life. And why is that? Because the creator itself, infinity, eternity, existence, that created the sun in the first place through its own electromagnetic field of creation, because infinity is spherical in nature, is electromagnetized spherical self-awareness and consciousness that we can see everywhere. So if you think about it from that point of view, then the Earth is the same. It's an object, it's spherical, just like the sun. It has its own electromagnetic field. We have our own electromagnetic field, and a lot of our things are spherical in nature, like our eyes. It allows us to see the light itself and understand reality and make sense of things in the first place. So then, it's all connected, you see. It's all connected. So our purpose is to create. Just like the creator created us, we are also creators ourselves at the biological scale. And we create through love. We make love, we create life. Life is creation, and creation is energy. And we create through love at the biological scale. But biological creation of reproduction is not the only creation that we're creative. We have imagination, we have brains, right? With electromagnetic fields that are spherical as well. So we have creation, infinity in our own brains, imagination, ideas. Comes from being alive. So then again, we ourselves, that's compass, spherical notion too, identity and true self. We are here to create. And we choose our own creations because of free will. Because of free will. So it's beautiful who we are. And how do we understand this notion? Well, we open the portal. We build the bridge. Staring at the sun, the light comes in, supercharges our brains, supercharges our hearts. We love with our heart, so we create with our love. So we create beautiful creators, and we create through our love. So that's why our hearts get supercharged. Our heartbeat is much stronger. Our love is more profound. And then when we stare at the sun, obviously our brain gets supercharged too, and ideas flourish. And you see, it's all a part of the genetic code. It's the DNA. Everything is in the DNA. It's holographic in a way. One cell any cell of the human body has the ability to recreate the entire human body. One cell, doesn't matter what the cell is, can replicate the entire human body, which means the genetic code has infinity within itself at a biological scale. Why? Because creation itself is infinite. So it's just beautiful. And if you understand this notion, you understand that we have sight to see, and we have the ability to open the portal, which is connecting with the sunlight, which is the creator in the first place. So we can have this connection with existence, with infinity itself. And when we do that, then we have our brains are supercharged. Remember, synapse is electricity, is current, signaling, brain signaling, receivers, senders. So when that happens, what does that do? Well, we're creative, we have ideas, and all these ideas come from our DNA because it's our nature. You see, the brain is built up from the DNA, and the DNA has brain cells in it. So you form a human brain, so it's capable of having an electromagnetic field and creative itself. So when you supercharge it, what you're doing is staring at the sun, opening the portal, and building the bridge. Essentially, you're supercharging your DNA, so you can be more creative, more infinite ideas flow. And the same with the heart. Heart cells, DNA, what does it do? Love, it creates a heartbeat, so we create with love. So more love, more creation. The more loving you are, the more capable of creating much bigger things it is. So that's the foundation, sundial, compass, who we are, identity and true self. So why fantasies and illusions? And let's start there again. Fantasies and illusions is this super important notion, because remember, it's about perception and reality, things you can control and things you can't control, and it comes down to free will. Free will is those things that you can control. Things outside your control, you deal with them by not giving them any power over you, by ignoring them, because they can't really control. You can't control them, so why wasting your energy on something you can't control? It's wasteful. It's a fantasies and illusions. So then let's start there, fantasies and illusions. Let's start with the outside. You see, because of the world, we perceive reality, and the world we're part of it. As an individual, identity and true self, the first primary element of compass, we're still part of the world. We're individual, and we have free will, and we're capable of creating, and we are creators ourselves. We're sundials, we're compasses, but we're still part of a bigger context, which is planet Earth, infinity itself, and humanity, and everything that comes with it. So let's start with fantasies and illusions through mediums and media at the scale of the world, reality as we perceive it, outside our control. And these are super important because we need to understand that these fantasies, these illusions are there. And we are compass, so we're energy. So energy shatters things. You see, we have an electromagnetic field. And our electromagnetic field is currency, is energy, is current. You see, it's electric. We shatter things. We generate a frequency, a vibration with our heart, with our love, with our energy. We vibrate. We create with our actions. So what does that mean? Well, we have all these mediums and media outside casting and projecting, these fantasies and these illusions that are outside our control. Spoke about it. It could be technology, it could be anything, objects and subjects of all sorts. You got the meaning in the beginning. So say, for example, somebody, a human, as an object, which you can't control, is outside your control, comes into your life, into your center of creation, into your force field of sight, where you can see and perceive. And then that person, casts an illusion. He casts, projects an illusion, and that illusion could be, say, an event that's happening to you right now. And say that it has a negative load. So that person is being negative around you. He's just wishing you harm or saying bad things to you. You're right? Because they're in control of their own actions. So they're purposefully taking the action, the negative action of casting this illusion, projecting this illusion onto you, because it's in entering your force field, what you can perceive through your senses, through your eyes, is inside your perimeter of perception. So that person comes inside of it and then starts to do something that's negative. See, all sorts of things. And then it's an event in your life, right? You're here and now, you're living, and then you're hearing, you're seeing, you're feeling. all this illusion that's outside your control, and it has a negative load, has a negative charge. Say that person is just insulting you. So then again, that's outside your control. That's the fantasy. That's the illusion. If you give that illusion power, meaning control over you, then you're going to generate a fantasy as a result. Meaning you're going to believe the illusion, the lie, the person insulting you, being mean to you with negative energy, negative thoughts. That person's going to come and say, hey, blah, blah, blah. And then you are giving it power because you're giving it attention. And then when you do that, what does it happen? Well, that fantasy gets stuck in your head in a way of a, medium and media. So then that stays in there as a memory in your head, and then it creates fantasies in your head. So you start believing that fantasy that was in the first place generated by this illusion, something outside your control. You see, and that's just an example. A human, it can be technology, it could be anything out there that we perceive through our senses. So, but because we're compass and we're infinite energy, and that's outside our control, we can shatter it so it doesn't have any effect. Someone comes into your field of creation, your force field, your resonance, your senses, you can perceive it, hear it, see it, taste it, feel it, all these different things, and comes with that vibe, a negative vibe, an illusion, and saying la la la. Then what do? Ignore it. It doesn't have your heart. You love yourself. Energy, the frequency of love shatters it. So that illusion never even forms into a fantasy. So you stays away because of your high level of frequency, your high level of resonance, your high level of vibration. So it never truly forms. It doesn't have a hold over you because it's outside your control. So you can apply that through self-love at all scales of your creation with your gravitational resonance of your heartbeat, and keep fantasies and illusions shattered, disintegrated out of your reality, because that's what they are. Fantasies and illusions, don't give it any power. You can't control them. They're outside your control. They come from objects and subjects, mediums and media that are outside your control. So now let's talk about fantasies and illusions of things that you can control. Things that you can control within your control. Well, you can shatter those as well. You can disintegrate them. You can destroy them. And it all starts with illusions. The illusion renders the fantasy if you give it power. So, and the way this happens is through, the shadow, through the unconscious. So if it's in your control, mediums and media, again, humans in our lives, when we were little or something, a trauma, an event that took place in our lives that generated this illusion, that fantasy that we relive in our heads through memories and painful events, that's holding us back with all this friction, all this noise, all this background, all this energy, that's low energy, destructive energy, that's keeping us in fear, so we don't vibrate at a higher level of creation. So we do what we're supposed to do, which is to love and to create. So if you think about it at a fundamental level, what that means then is that, so same example as that person that comes into your perception, into your awareness, self-awareness, your consciousness, through your senses, and then that person is just being mean to you. Like that fella was just yelling earlier that you heard. So that person comes, you see, it's within your control. So that person is just casting that energy, that whatever event, traumatic. So what you do is, because you're in control of your emotions and how you react to these, because you're in control of your senses, you don't let that affect you. So it goes away. It never forms into a fantasy. The illusion is shattered immediately. So then, but let's say that for some reason when you were little, people got into you and then they started to tell you mean things, and events were traumatic. And how do you do that? Well, it's in your control to love yourself, and you vanquish those things. And how do you vanquish those things? Well, you vanquish those things precisely in that way, by loving yourself, healing, recovery, self-love, acceptance, gratitude, and then the emotion itself gets discharged. The memory itself, the trauma gets discharged, gets deloaded, and then you disintegrate the fantasy, disintegrate the illusion, disintegrate the shadow. The unconscious thing goes away. All this static, all this friction, all this background noise goes away, and then you can reclaim your power and free up all this energy so you can do what you're supposed to do, which is your free will, and you create because you're compass and you manifest through free will. And that's purposeful daily action. So you see, And you can apply that at all levels. Events, mediums and media, control, outside your control. So you as a compass, because you have free will, we have identity and true self, this is who we are, we shatter those, disintegrate them, so we can manifest our free will through purposeful daily action. We manifest our dreams, we manifest our purpose. This is what we do. This is because we have a human heart and we create with our hearts. Because we're infinite energy, we've been benevolent species, this is who we are. And the heart is a resonance, it's an electromagnetic field of creation. And this is what it is, and it will always be. This will never change. So this is what it is, fantasies and illusions. You deal with that and then compass us. We manifest free will and we shatter fantasies and illusions. We render them obsolete. We disintegrate them. And that's what the quest of life is, understanding who we are, compass, our free will. And that's why the book is called this way, and that's why we're compass, because we do that, because we're energy. We shatter fantasies and illusions and render them obsolete. Because of our free will, we have the choice to render them obsolete and shatter them because we have free will. We're conscious and self-aware. We're a heartful species. We're a benevolent race. We love with our hearts because our heart has the heartbeat that gives us life in the first place. We're infinite. So, humanity, I love you all with all my heart, with all my mind. And I'll leave you with this one. I'll leave you with sundial and compass. So what's compass? Well, 8 primary elements. The first one is identity and true self, who we are. The human heartbeat created us in the first place so we can be self-aware and conscious. So we as creators can choose our own creations, which is the second primary element, which is purpose. We choose our purpose with our free will, and free will is proven by purposeful daily action. The third primary element is time and energy. Then again, we are infinite energy. So energy is who we are. So we need to manage our energy and our time through our perception of this human condition, the human body, human nature, who we are. Then the fourth primary element is action, purposeful daily action, which is the proof to free will in the first place. So we take purposeful daily action and we shatter all these illusions and these fantasies, render them all obsolete, disintegrate them, destroy them, and then we focus on what we are, which is creators. So we create our dreams, we manifest them, our dreams come true. Then the fifth primary element is how. Is this mechanism, is a self-correcting mechanism, it's a self-recalibrating mechanism that allows us to always stay on true north and get to our destinations. We flow because we're energy and because we're emotional and we're alive. Our heartbeat, right? We love with our hearts. So we create with our hearts. And good emotions, purposeful life, it's all about love. It's all about emotions. So then again, part of the same logic. It's part of the same logic. See, it's loving, flowing. So flow is the sixth primary element, which is flow, energy, emotions. We flow with good vibes, good energy. We create, we feel good, we follow our hearts. Then again, our creator, the heart. And then the seventh primary element is true north. We stay on true north because our flow is clear, our actions are clear, in alignment with our identity, true self, and our actions and time and energy. And then we head there. And then the eighth primary element is destination, the dream, the purpose, the goal. Purposeful goals, our dreams come true through our action. And that's just the way it is, and the way it would always be. This will never change. And sundials, then again, because the creator itself, see, the sun, at our scale of creation, it's allowing us to stare at it so we can open the portal and build the bridge and supercharge our brains and supercharge our hearts so we can have more creation. We can have more imagination, more visions of ourselves, our true selves, our dreams, so we can materialize them with a heart, with a love for ourselves. Creating self-love starts with our boundaries, true self dimensions. I speak about it in the book all the time. So it's about that, having the heart, the energy required to live and love to live, so we can manifest our free will, make our dreams come true, because this is who we are. Humanity, I love you all with all my heart, with all my mind. Truly love you with all my heart, with all my mind. Remember who we are. With the citizens of the Republic of Planet Earth, with the citizenry, with the leaders and the defenders of the Republic of Planet Earth. This is who we are. We're a benevolent species. We're a heartful species. We're a love-based species. We're a heart-based species. This is who we are with the human race. We're here to love because we live. And we live to love and we love to live. This is who we are. This is our nature. I love you all with all my heart, with all my mind. Remember who we are. We're infinite eternal creators. We're infinite eternal sundials. We're infinite eternal compasses. Love you all.